Hello and welcome to this fascinating election in Bihar. This is Countdown, where we travel around the state and talk to women and men in villages and in towns to see what the real issues are on the ground. We also speak to the major leaders of the political parties here, and you will hear what they have to say in this countdown. So one of the key factors in this trip around Bihar to study elections and talk to voters was to visit constituencies which are bellwether constituencies. What's a bellwether constituency? It's a constituency which whoever they vote for as a winner in their constituency, the same party wins in the state. So it's like Saharsa, 11 out of 11 elections, they voted for the same winner in Saharsa as the winner in the state. That's a bellwether constituency. And we went around many of them, and we'll be talking to them, and you will hear what the voters there have to say. With me to analyze what's happening in this election is Dorab Sopariwala. He can't be with us. He was here with us yesterday, but he can't be with us today. So he's joining us from Bombay. Thanks very much, Dorab. We have Manish, who has been reporting from Bihar for years. We have the real cephalogist, Shikha, and the ultra cephalogist, Mr. Bajpai. First, let's have a look, before I come to you, is there strong anti-incumbency in Bihar? Or is Bihar's anti-incumbency period over? This three-phase pattern over the last 75 years has been different from state to state assembly elections across India. The most recent phase since 2002, that's almost 2 decades, shows that far from anti-incumbency, Bihar now has moderate pro-incumbency, with governments being re-elected 60% of the time. That's just moderate. But in the next 25 years, 1977 to 2002, that was a period of voter anger, leading to anti-incumbency, with only 33% of governments being voted back in power. In the first 25 years after independence, voters were full of hope, bordering on euphoria, and in every election the people of Bihar voted the government back in power. An amazing 100% pro-incumbency. Just look at this list. You see pro-incumbency in Gujarat, 100%, but you see anti-incumbency in Rajasthan with 0% being voted back in power. So as you can see, Bihar is somewhere in the middle with a 60% pro-incumbency. But it is the end of the anti-incumbency era. So even if you look at incumbency of state governments, there have been 3 major phases of Indian elections. Just after independence, if you look at the all India average, 82% of state governments were voted back. And you can see many of them 100%. It was the post-independent euphoria. Then there was a huge backlash. People were disappointed, and only 29% were voted back. 71% of governments were voted out. And finally, in the last 2 decades, it's about 50-50. So from pro-incumbency to anti-incumbency to an era of 50-50. Dorab, you were the one who originally said anti-incumbency, and when you said it, it was real anti-incumbency, particularly in the post-77 period. Why has that changed?
I think it's changed because of the dominant parties are no longer there like the Congress was. Then came the anti-Congress wave, and now it's all over the place because regional parties are becoming much more important. So, now it's 50-50. So pro-Congress, anti-Congress, regional parties, and 50-50.
Shikha, would you also say that after the anti-incumbency, where they just kicked out everybody, more than 70% were kicked out, they suddenly there was realization that some parties are doing well and they will vote them back. So there was a maturity that has now reached 50-50. Those who do well are voted back, those who don't do well are voted out.
In Bihar, we see that there amongst women voters, there is huge pro-incumbency, and that is because of Nitish Kumar. They are, they feel that he's done so much for them that they don't mind voting for him again and again.
So they feel they realize that he's a doer and he has actually implemented certain things.
Yes, and this is caste neutral. It has nothing to do with caste or religion. It's just that they feel he's pro-women and so they should continue to vote for him.
So why, Manish, is this like suddenly? I mean, Bihar is not in a very good state for the last 20 years, but people keep voting the same government back. We did hear some people say it's been so long time for a change, but up to now it's been pro-incumbency.
डॉक्टर रॉय, उसका दो कारण है। एक, नीतीश अपना जो सोशल कोलिशन है उसको एक्सपैंड करते रहते हैं। जैसे मैं एग्जांपल दूं, 2020 का जो पिछला चुनाव था, चिराग पासवान उनके साथ नहीं थे, इस बार चिराग पासवान उनके साथ आ गए, तो वैसे ही उनका अलायंस थोड़ा इन्विंसिबल हो जाता है। दूसरा कारण ये है कि हर बार जो है नीतीश, जैसा आपने कहा कि परफॉर्मेंस की क्राइटेरिया पे अगर आप देखेंगे, 2010 से अगर आपने देखा कि उस समय उन्होंने कहा था कि एक बार और उन्हें मौका मिलता है तो वो बिजली लाएंगे। 15 में उन्होंने, जैसे ही चुनाव की घोषणा हुई, 7 निश्चय, 20 में भी उन्होंने एक प्रोग्राम दिया, हालांकि 25 में अभी तक नहीं बताया कि ये बेसिकली ही कीप्स ऑन
forget the electorate becoming more mature, the politicians are becoming smarter at handling. And did you find that when you went around Baj, that people were, I mean, unhappy, but less unhappy with one side than the other?
People are unhappy about many factors, but you don't get a feeling that they want change in a big way. You're not feeling that there's a wave against the government or there's a strong movement against, Nitish. Particularly Nitish, you feel there is a lot of sympathy on the ground for him.
डेवलपमेंट के नाम पे बिहार को बहुत बदल चुके हैं वो, और जो स्टूडेंट को बड़े बड़े यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ने के लिए सोचना पड़ता था, वो आज 5 साल से कंटिन्यू DRCC यहाँ पे है, 4 लाख रुपए का लोन देते हैं नीतीश सरकार के राज में।
जो चलने लायक रोड नहीं था उसको बनाया, विकास किया है, बहुत सुविधा किया है जनता को। अच्छा, वैसा तो आज तक कोई किया ही नहीं मुख्यमंत्री।
पैसा बाद की बात है, पैसा ही आज दिए हैं, लेकिन इतना दिन से तो वो देख रहे हैं, राशन पानी हर जगह दुख सुख में हेल्प कर रहे हैं, दवा उवा सब चीज में ही हेल्प कर रहे हैं नीतीश जी।
काम किया है, अगला बिहार के रौनक तो बदला है अगला, इसमें कहीं से दो मत की बात नहीं है।
हम लोगों का जो सरकार है अवेलेबल, हम लोग प्रयास करते हैं कि वही जाए। नीतीश जी को जिताए हैं, फिर इस बार भी जो है सो इन्हीं को देंगे।
हमारे लिए नीतीश अच्छा है।
हम लोग नीतीश कुमार को ही अच्छा मानते हैं, क्योंकि वो हर एक क्षेत्र में रोजगार भी दे रहे हैं।
बच्चा लोग के तो वही ना अभी आगे मुझे बढ़ा रहे हैं, पढ़ाई लिखाई हर चीज में सहयोग कर ले, लड़की लोग के तो उन्हीं का ना वोट देगा।
जो नीतीश कुमार की जो सरकार है वो गर्ल्स लोग को बहुत ज़्यादा अपलिफ्ट कर रही है, एजुकेशन में, हेल्थ में। तो मेरे गांव में क्या है ना कि सिर्फ पैसे, मतलब लड़कियां हैं कि इसीलिए पढ़ रही हैं क्योंकि उनको सपोर्ट मिला है।
हम मोदी को जानते हैं, नीतीश को जानते हैं, बाकी तो हम कुछ नहीं जानते हैं।
नीतीश जी डिलीवर के लिए जाने जाते हैं, क्योंकि लंबे समय से बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री हैं, लेकिन नीतीश कुमार जी की ताकत है कि वो डिलीवर नीचे करते हैं। यदि करोड़ों लोगों को सुविधा देने का काम किसी मुख्यमंत्री ने बिहार में किया है तो वो नीतीश कुमार जी ने किया।
Given this pro-incumbency, it is quite surprising because Bihar has the worst per capita income per person in this country. Just look at this table. You see at the top Telangana, per month people on average get nearly 30,000 rupees. Karnataka 27,000, Andhra Pradesh 20,000, Chhattisgarh 12,000 and Bihar 5,700 per month is what the average. So despite being the poorest state in this country, by far, governments keep getting voted back. Why is that? And why is it the poorest state? We asked the NDA leaders, their answer was more or less the same. It's been terrible so far, but we are now at a takeoff stage. Just listen to what they had to say.
This election is important for us. This election is important क्योंकि हम लोगों को लगता है बिहार एक टेक ऑफ स्टेज में। If you travel to Bihar, if you travel in Patna also, कि जो लोग आते रहे नीतीश कुमार से पहले वो बेटर बता सकता है आपको कि जो स्थिति पटना में थी, आप 6-7 बजे के बाद पटना नहीं निकल सकते थे, लेकिन आज पटना का रोड्स जो है, आई डोंट नो वेदर यू हैव सीन बिहार म्यूजियम, ये सब इस नीतीश कुमार का देन है। ये सब सारा स्टोरी पिछले 15-20 साल का है। तो ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, रोड कनेक्टिविटी चीजें पूरा उन्होंने प्लेस कर दिया। एक स्टेप बिहार को लेना है जहां मुझे लगता है कि उतना काम नहीं हो पाया या वो चीजें नहीं मिली, वो है गेटिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड इंडस्ट्री। देर तक जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं क्रिएट होता। हम लोगों को लगता है कि अगले 5 साल में उस फील्ड में बिहार विल डू मच बेटर।
For the past 1 year, sir, I do believe the kind of importance that my state has got from our Prime Minister, it's not a small thing that the Prime Minister has visited my state for almost 11-12 times since the time he has become the Prime Minister for the 3rd time. And the kind of, financial benefits that he is giving to our state. So I think this is something, if well utilized, and which will be, because we have both the governments on the same page, will be very, very beneficial. So I do believe that next 5 years going to be very important for my state.
So what is the reality on the ground? Frankly, when I talk to hundreds of voters, I was really impressed by their knowledge, their understanding of what's happening around them and who's to blame. So I just feel the people of Bihar are the finest in this country. The politicians of the Bihar are the worst and have let down their people for many, many years. Dorab, why is it the poorest state in India?
I think it's the poorest state because there is no industry here. Industry has left, particularly when Jharkhand was formed. It's just pure agriculture, and that isn't enough to sustain an economy.
अपने राज्य में रहता उद्योग धंधा कुछ भी तो यहाँ पे सभी बिहारी यहाँ रहते हैं।
यहाँ पे फैक्ट्री बने ताकि यहाँ के लोग यहीं पे काम करें, उनको बाहर नहीं जाना पड़े।
सरकार क्या कर रहा है? 10,000 से इसका पेट 1 महीना भर जाएगा। इसका 5-6 परिवार है। 10,000 में इसका बच्चा का फीस भरेगा कि कपड़ा लानेगा, खाना बनाएगा, क्या करेगा? चप्पल 100 में आता है। आज चप्पल भी फैक्ट्री रहेगा तो 10 गो महिला चप्पल फैक्ट्री चला सकता है। किसान देखिए, उसका किसान का घर भी चुभ रहा है फसल, लेकिन रेट जा रहा है, रेट भी नहीं लग रहा किसान का। सरकार के पास बहुत कुछ है, हम नहीं कहते हमारे पास नहीं है। सरकार के पास अनोखा चाहता है तो हमारे रोजगार फैक्ट्री में लगा सकता है।
हमको रोड बना दिए और पटना में जो है कि मेट्रो लगा दिए, बड़े बड़े ट्रेन चला दिए, उससे हमको क्या मतलब है गरीब को? ऐसा कहिए कि हाँ उसमें हमको रोजगार दिला दिए, तब हम कहते कि हाँ उसमें आप हमको रोजगार दिला दिए, गरीब को वहाँ नौकरी दिला है, समझे कि नहीं? लेकिन उससे हमको क्या, उसमें तो बड़े बड़े लोग जाएंगे, बड़े बड़े उद्योगपति जाएंगे। हम लोग को उतना सच में नहीं है कि हम लोग उसमें चढ़ सके।
मोदी बोलता है कि हमको जिता दीजिए, हम काम करेंगे, तो कहाँ कोई काम करते हैं?
कुछ तो गरीबी कारण थका जाते हैं क्योंकि पैसा के लालच में वोट दे देते हैं, और कुछ मूर्ख बन जाते हैं, पढ़े लिखे मूर्ख जैसे हम लोग हो गए, कि आशा में रह जाते हैं कि हम लोग को मिलेगा।
हम लोग एक नया बिहार बनाना चाहते हैं।
Large sections of Bihar society, they have been waiting for a change, and last 5 years have only added to this desire for change. The anti-incumbency of this government, I think, has grown. Its credibility is at its lowest point. There is complete collapse of governance. So there are many issues. I mean, massive poverty, unemployment, corruption, crime, collapse of governance. But all these things add up to the desire for change.
Shikha, like the NDA politicians say, it's about to take off. It's at the takeoff stage. Everything is good in the future. Did you see that when you talk to people on the ground?
So let me give you an example. In village after village, we found that women were trapped in this web of microfinance companies, private companies, and they take multiple loans at the same time, and they basically live off these loans. Not only do they have to pay a bribe to get the loan. For instance, a woman told me that for taking a loan of 1 lakh, she only got 70,000, so she had to pay a bribe of 30,000 rupees. The interest rates are also very steep, so the monthly interest is anything between 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. And there are households which have been living like this for the last 15 to 20 years. So this is the level of poverty that you find in the villages. This is the kind of condition that these women live in, and yet they seem sort of resigned to their situation.
कितना लिया था आपने?
1 लाख उठा था। 1 लाख में काट बांट कर 70,000 दिया।
और किस वजह के लिए लिया था? किस चीज के लिए लिया था?
बिजनेस करने के लिए।
मनियारा अच्छा चल रहा है?
हाँ, मनियारा बिजनेस।
कोई 50,000 ले छे, कोई 1 लाख ले छे, कोई 2 लाख ले छे,
और जो कर्जा देते हैं क्या वो लोग आके कभी तंग करते हैं अगर आपका समय से कर्जा नहीं वापस?
हाँ पूरे तंग करे तंग करे छे, जे पैसा चुकाना पड़ेगा आपको।
बहुत ऐसे लोग हैं, आदमी को आज इस माइक्रो फाइनेंशियल लोन उठाए उसको दे दिए, उससे उठाए उसको दे दिए। इसी तरह बहुत सारे गरीब फैमिली हैं जो इस तरह से चल रहे हैं।
आप लोगों को भी लोन लेना पड़ा है बैंक से?
हाँ, हम लोग लिए हैं, बैंक से नहीं लिए हैं, ये प्राइवेट जो चल रहा है वही सब लिए हैं। हाँ समूह का, समूह जैसे SKS बंधन ये सब में लिए हैं।
कितना लोन लिया है आपने?
बंधन में लिए थे तो सद गया, 95,000 लिए थे SKS में, तो थोड़ा सद गया है, थोड़ा बड़ा बचा हुआ है।
हाँ लोन लेता है, सब गरीब है यहाँ पे।
घर भी जो बना हुआ है, लोने पर घर बना हुआ है,
बिजनेस करता है, लोन लेके बिजनेस करने में आसान नहीं है। लोन ले लेता है तो बिजनेस करने के लिए आसान होता है इंसान को।
लोगों के पास रोजगार नहीं है, ऐसी हालत है कि 70% लोग EMI पे अपनी लाइफ को बिता रहे हैं। एक कर्जा को छुपाने के लिए दूसरा कर्जा लोग ले रहे हैं।
I also met a scooter driver who got straight into his bank account 2,50,000. So it's straight into the bank account, 100%. But every time he wanted to get it out, the bank managers and other officials say, out of that 2,50,000, you have to pay us 50. So he ended up with just 2 lakhs. So this is quite common that bureaucrats, it might go into the account, so it looks like 100% is gone in, but when you try to take it out, they want to share.
प्रणय, ये इस बात में कोई संदेह नहीं है कि बिहार में जो करप्शन है वो सबसे ज़्यादा है, और ख़ासकर जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी है, निचले स्तर की हो या ऊपर की हो, सबसे ज़्यादा यहाँ पे घूसखोरी है। लेकिन हमने ये देखा कि उसका कारण क्या है कि बिहार में अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, लोगों के पास मजदूरी के अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ नहीं है, तो मजदूरी करने के लिए दिल्ली और बॉम्बे जाते हैं। मैं आज सुबह में कुछ रील्स देख रहा था और कई बिहारी जो छठ के लिए आए थे वो कह रहे थे कि हम तो अपने घर में, अपने देश राज्य में हम अब गेस्ट हो गए हैं, यानी कि जैसे गेस्ट आते थे और अब वापस जाते थे, वैसे वो अब गेस्ट बन के आते हैं। और बिहार में एक रियलिटी है प्रणय कि बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो अपने फादर को, वाइफ जो है अपने हस्बैंड को साल में 20 दिन, 1 महीने से ज़्यादा नहीं देख पाती। उसका कारण क्या है कि बिहार में आज तक बिहार की गरीबी, बिहार के पिछड़ेपन, इनइक्वालिटी को कैसे एड्रेस किया जाए, उसके लिए कभी कोई सीरियस डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ। यहाँ सब कुछ पीसमिल होता है।
बिहार में सबसे बड़ा इशू बेरोज़गारी का है, और लोग जो है नौकरी चाहते हैं, लोग जो है रोज़गार चाहते हैं, लोग जो है फैक्ट्री चाहते हैं, लोग जो है एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री चाहते हैं, लोग जो है यहाँ SEZ चाहते हैं, IT पार्क चाहते हैं। यहाँ आप देखिएगा टेक्नोलॉजी हो या एग्रीकल्चर, एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री हो, लोग चाहते हैं यहाँ शुगर मिल हो, जूट मिल हो, ये खुले। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी आ रहे हैं, अमित शाह जी आ रहे हैं, उनके एक एक शब्द, एक एक वाक्य अगर आप ध्यान से सुनेंगे, कहीं कोई सकारात्मक बातें नहीं करते, एक सकारात्मक शब्द नहीं रहता, सारा नकारात्मक बातें रहते हैं। कोई फलदायी बात वो नहीं करते, नॉन इश्यूज़ को वो लाते हैं। तो हमको लगता है कि बिहार की जनता होशियार है और सकारात्मक बात सुनना चाहती है।
20 वर्ष आप सत्ता में रहिएगा और अब आज आके कहिए कि 5 वर्ष और दे दीजिए, हम पलायन रोक देंगे, तो लोग मानेंगे नहीं, क्योंकि पलायन का सबसे पहली बार मुद्दा जनसुराज ने उठाया है।
Migration is a symptom of poverty, but Baj, as Manish is saying, corruption. But what we found, and you must have also found while talking to people, both sides are corrupt. It is a major issue for them, but it's not an election issue because both are equally corrupt.
I think the point that Manish made about corruption goes to the lowest level. Everybody in the state is supposed to get 5 kilos of grain. They actually get 4. No household gets the full allotment. The person who's giving it keeps back 1, and everybody accepts it. They take it as part of the system. So corruption, while has been raised by some politicians, is not a big issue. I think what's a bigger issue is the fact that there is no education and health services in this state are pathetic, and that's one of the reasons why people leave the state. It's not just jobs, it's also to get educated, that the people go out from here, and once they've gone out, they don't want to come back because there are no jobs for them here.
हम लोग ही सरकार के वोट बैंक है, तो हम लोग के साथ तो इस तरीके से नहीं करनी चाहिए। सरकार को हमारी बातों को माननी चाहिए, उनको देखनी चाहिए। बिहार में जितने भी एग्जाम हो रहे हैं सब में इतना भ्रष्टाचार है, कुछ कहने का नहीं।
पलायन पर हम लोग बहुत नाखुश है। दूसरे प्रदेश में जाकर के हम लोग को बहुत दिक्कत होता है, काम करने में बहुत परेशानियां होती है।
किसी का बच्चा जो है 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 के लिए बाहर जाके कमाए, अब किसी को यहाँ पे 10,000 का रोजगार मिले वो बेटर है या बाहर जाके कमाए वो बेटर है? वहाँ जाके गाली सुनना पड़ता है।
फैक्ट्री यहाँ खुल जाए ना तो यहाँ से जो बिहार से जितनी गरीबी है थोड़ा तो दूर हो ही जाएगा। यहाँ बहुत गरीबी, बेरोजगारी बहुत है। यहाँ पंजाब, हरियाणा, दिल्ली, यहीं से लोग, बिहार से ही लोग भरे पड़े हुए हैं।
यहाँ पे मतलब जो बेरोजगारी का दौर है उसको मतलब उसमें कुछ परिवर्तन किया जाएगा ताकि उसमें कुछ सुधार हो।
बेरोजगारी है, कोई बेटों के बीए पढ़ा कर नौकरी के अप्लाई करता है, नौकरी नहीं देता, सब घूस मांगता है। तो घूस कहाँ से दे? गरीब आदमी रोड पर कमा कर खाने वाला घूस कहाँ से लावे?
So one of the key things of this Bihar, everybody talks about caste, but almost as important, if not more important than caste, as Shikha was saying, the women voter. The turnout of women voter has gone up hugely since 1962. 1962 when first the Election Commission first started measuring women and men turnout. Women voters used to be way behind men in turnout. Now they are ahead of men by 5.2%. Now Nitish has somehow got into the hearts and minds of the women voter. Why? First, the big headline of this election was announcing a 10,000 rupee grant just before the election. Many say it was like buying votes using government money or whatever it is. Like it or not, it works. But more than that, that 10,000 rupees is not being seen in isolation by women. Women think Nitish is women friendly, and it goes back quite a long time. So why is Nitish considered pro-women? Voters say the current 10,000 gift for all women has had earlier even larger precedents. For example, in 2007, and I remember discussing this with Nitish Kumar, he gave a cycle, money for a cycle to every school girl in Bihar, and it was tremendously successful. In 2016, he announced prohibition, mainly keeping in mind the hardship that women face when there's alcohol freely available. And then, of course, now the 10,000 gift to women, that should be seen in this history of the last 2 or more decades. How do we know women really prefer Nitish? Just look at the actual results. And that women voters are key in certain constituencies right across the state. Where women turnout is high, NDA wins. Where women turnout is low, the Mahagathbandhan wins. Just look at Kosi and Darbhanga. Kosi women turnout is 12.5% higher than men. Darbhanga 11.9% higher than men turnout. And what happened in Kosi? NDA won 77% of the seats, and in Darbhanga the NDA won 73% of the seats. And on the other hand, just look at an area where men's turnout is higher. If you look at Patna and Magad, men's turnout in Patna 4.5% higher than women, or women are 4.5% less than men, and in Magad, women turnout is 1.8% less than men. Unusual. And in these two places, the NDA did badly. In Patna, they won only 30% of the seats, and in Magad, only 23% of the seats.
Now, women itself has been becoming a vote base. And you can see this pattern in different states, including Bihar. तो ये तो कोई नहीं डिनाई कर सकता है कि आज महिला अपने आप में एक वोट का आधार है, लेकिन इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि धर्म और जाति फैक्टर नहीं होगा.
Historically also in Bihar, women have voted largely because of Nitish. Where Nitish used to be, women used to vote more towards that formation. And that's something that we are very aware of, and we are trying to work as hard and as smart as we can in the time that we have left. I think this election is going to go where the women go.
बिहार की महिलाएं समृद्धि की ओर जा रही है और लगभग 56,000 करोड़ का मार्केट हमारे यहाँ जीविका दीदियों का है. ये एक बड़ा ट्रांजैक्शन है, उसको जितना हम लोग अपलिफ्ट करेंगे उतना बिहार समृद्ध होगा, ये हमारा मानना है।
So the women's vote, Dorab, seems to be crucial, and we'll come to caste. Obviously, that's everybody's talking about caste, but the focus on women in this election has been very clear, and that 10,000 gift was a masterstroke, whether legit or not, but it was a masterstroke, and it will help women, right?
You know, Nitish also has certain other advantages, is that he comes across as a sort of friendly place, not threatening to women. More important, at every election time, he reminds people about Lalu's Jungle Raj. Now, Jungle Raj threatens women much more than threatens men. And I think that also helps him to, though I think a third of the electorate wasn't born when Lalu was in power, he keeps on harping about, and as I said, he's formed a good coalition. He has a gentle face, he's not threatening, and he reminds people about Lalu's Jungle Raj. All of which together, I think, make a difference and persuade women to vote for him. It's not just the money, not just the schemes, it's also the constant reminder of Lalu's Jungle Raj.
बिहार में जहाँ तक लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की बात हो, हम लोग भी तो 20 साल से देख रहे हैं. इट्स अ लॉन्ग टाइम. नो कास्ट वार, नो कम्युनल, यहाँ पर कोई वॉर हुआ कि कहीं कम्युनल ये हो जाए, ये नॉर्मल नहीं है ये चीज़. इट्स अ थिकली पॉपुलेटेड स्टेट. कुछ तो आदमी बैठ के किए होंगे. बिहार में पिछले 20 साल में हार्डली कभी 1-2 दिन कहीं कर्फ्यू लगा हो, कहीं कर्फ्यू नहीं लगा 20 साल में. तो ये पीस और लॉ एंड ऑर्डर उन्होंने मेंटेन करके रखा.
लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, इफ यू हैव टू डिबेट और इफ यू हैव टू क्लेम कि which government was better in law and order, then you have to discuss with the data. The NCRB data says after 2005 the crime has been increased a lot. And when Laluji and Rabidi was the CM, they were the CM of United Bihar. Bihar and Jharkhand all together, the larger territory, the more population. Still, according to NCRB, the crime was lower than Nitish ji akele Bihar mein jab the. Yeah, it has increased a lot.
I do believe that. I think I'm the last generation, who really understands what really happened in 90s, the whole Jungle Raj regime. Why my state was left behind was because of those 15 years, 1.5 decades of Laluji, Rabdi ji, during their regime. The way economic growth of my state came to a standstill. People of my state were forced to migrate and leave my state. When we talk about migration, Palayan, it all started majorly during that era, during that regime. That khai, as we call it, it was so vast and so deep, to fill that and to get our state to a level where we can actually start thinking of development. Actually took a lot of time.
Most of what they talk about is Jungle Raj. What they should be talking about is what they have done for the people of Bihar on these crucial sectors. What have they done to improve education? Almost nothing. What have they done to improve the healthcare system? Almost nothing. Have they generated employment? No. Has crime been curtailed? Absolutely not. Has corruption been reined in? It's off the charts through the roof.
So he's talking about the Jungle Raj. One of the problems in us going around in Bihar is that women in villages are a little hesitant to speak to men who come from towns unknown. But you spoke to a lot of women, and your focus was to see what they're thinking. What's the general impression you got? They're very pro Nitish Kumar, or they're a little hesitant? What did you find?
I think the 10,000 rupees is a game changer on the ground. Let's look at women who largely stay inside their homes or work on a plot of land or farm which is in the family. So they said, oh, we'll buy a sewing machine, we'll buy a cow. For them, this was a really big deal. But if you look at women who have stepped out a little bit, have started a small tea shop or are vegetable vendors, they say, we will take the 10,000 rupees because the government has given it to us, so why shouldn't we? But 10,000 rupees is not enough to support a business or start a new one. And we are willing to consider other offers. We will see what the other parties have to offer. Now, this sentiment is amplified to a large extent when you go to young voters, young women, first-time voters, who say that 10,000 rupees means nothing. We want greater investment in our future. So even amongst women, although the majority of them feel that this is what they will link their vote to, there are different opinions cropping up.
आप लोग के गांव में महिलाओं को 10,000 रुपए मिल गए हैं?
हाँ,
आप सबको मिल गए हैं?
सब आधा दिन के मिला, आधा के ना।
हमारा 10,000 रुपया आ गया है। हम अंडा चाउमीन का दुकान खोले हुए हैं, वही कहिए हैं खोले हैं। 10,000 से हमको लाभ है। आपको 10,000 रुपए मिले? हाँ, समूह वाला। उससे क्या करेंगी आप?
क्या करेंगे उससे? बकरी पठरू के पालन दुकान दौरी में लगेबे, पूंजी बढ़ेबे और की करबे? यह सब न करबे, सब आदमी मिलकर यह सब।
हाँ, हमको पैसा मिला है, अभी तो हमको निकाल ही नहीं रहा है, हमको पैसा निकाल ही नहीं रहा है बैंक से। अभी आधार कार्ड से लिंक नहीं है, लिंक करवाया निकालेगा।
सब तो पगला रहा है कि 10,000 उसको दिए तो 10,000 उसको दिए, सरकार पगला रहा है।
सरकार अपने जेब से हम ही लोग का पैसा हम ही लोग को रिटर्न किया है, और वो भी इलेक्शन के टाइम पे। इलेक्शन से पहले सरकार कहाँ दे रही थी ये फंड? तो इसलिए ये कोई नहीं है, ये वोट लेने का एक नया रूल बना है और नया पैसा बांटने का वो तरीका है।
आपके खाते में 10,000 रुपए आए हैं। हाँ, उसका आप क्या करेंगे?
बिजनेस में लगाएंगे, आगे बढ़ाएंगे। इसे
क्या बढ़ाएंगे, कैसे बढ़ाएंगे?
ऐसे आगे बढ़ाएंगे और बड़ा दुकान करेंगे, और सोच रहे हैं कि गांव में किराना आइटम करेंगे और दुकान करेंगे अपना जमीन में। ये तो मान के चलिए दूसरा के जमीन है, कब हटा देगा नहीं हटा देगा कोनो ठीक नहीं है।
गाय लेने 10,000 में नहीं हुआ, 2 बकरी लिए और बकरी भी एक ठो मर गया। अब तो हम लोग का डर हो गया कि नीतीश कुमार जी अब ब्याज के ब्याज न लेवे लगे जो रही।
I must apologize for some of the background sound because they are bound to hear that we are on the banks of the Ganga and this is Chhat time and it's a lovely time to be in Bihar. Baj, when you've got the money, somebody else promises you for the future. I mean, you know, that's an uncertainty. One is 100% certainty, the other is, you know, iffy. So does it, like it did affect the voters of Maharashtra? Do you think it's going to affect the voters here?
I think yes, because I think in many of the comments that women did make to our team was that this is money in the bank. We don't know what's going to happen on the other side.
Right.
But I think a lot of Gen Z people who were interviewed felt that this 10,000 is not a productive thing. They wanted it put into education and all. But finally, you have to remember what Nitish has been working on the women's vote since the time he gave the cycle. And those people who got the cycle or when prohibition came in, those people have now grown up and become voters. And the cycle was a game changer for them, as many commentators have said. So why wouldn't they vote for
So
Nitish?
they remember that.
Yeah.
So that's a very key thing in this election.
प्रणय, मैं बता दूं, पिछले 6 महीनों से खासकर आरजेडी और प्रशांत किशोर की जनस्वराज ने अपने सारे प्रोग्राम महिलाओं के आसपास ही अनाउंस किए थे कि 2,500 रुपये महीने में, साल के 30,000, अगले 5 साल में 1.5 लाख। तो एक तरह से आप कह सकते हैं कि नीतीश के जो आसपास के ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हैं, जो हम कहते हैं कि काफ़ी यहाँ पे करप्ट सिस्टम है, उस करप्ट सिस्टम ने एक तरह से महिला वोटरों को भी कोऑप्ट करने की एक कोशिश की है। और हमने एक देखा है, जो बाज बता रहे हैं कि हमारे देश में जितने भी राज्य में महिलाओं के खाते में पैसे पहुंचे हैं, वहाँ पे इनकम्बेंट गवर्नमेंट री इलेक्ट हुई है। आजकल का ये नीति बड़ा ही साफ है, तुम मुझे नोट दो, हम तुमको वोट देंगे। और ये बिहार में भी ये काम कर रहा है, जमीन पे इसका असर दिखता है। भले ही तेजस्वी और प्रशांत किशोर वादा कुछ भी कर लें, लेकिन जो महिला वोटर हैं उनका झुकाव जो है वो नीतीश की तरफ है। लेकिन बिहार में ये सबसे महंगा चुनाव है। उसका कारण यह है कि अभी आप देखेंगे कि ना केवल 10,000 रुपये जो महिलाओं के खाते में गए हैं, बहुत बड़ी संख्या में पैसे जो हैं बेनिफिशियरी के अकाउंट में गए। ये करीब 30,000 करोड़ से अधिक जो है ये जा चुका है। तो बिहार ही गरीब है, बिहार गरीब है, लेकिन बिहार का वोटर जो है इस चुनाव में कम से कम माला माल है।
10,000 is just a seed money for a potentially larger loan. This is not Mahila Rozgar Yojana. This is Mahila Karzdar Yojana. People are already suffering, reeling under debt burden, and you are just only want to add to it. तो हमें लगता है कि even women who many think that basically are so much, kind of impressed by this 10,000 rupee scheme, that once again they are going to vote en masse for the Nitish Kumar government. That's not going to happen. चुनाव खत्म, पैसा हजम, खेल खत्म.
कौन सा महिला जो है बिजनेस खड़ा कर सकती है? वो तो खर्च ही होना है, और खर्च होना है तो फिर आपको जो है उधार लौटाना भी है इंटरेस्ट के साथ, तो वो कैसे होगा पॉसिबल? तो गवर्नमेंट इज प्लेइंग. 20 साल से कुछ नहीं कर रहे थे, अब चुनाव आया है तो एक रिश्वत के तौर पे 10,000 रुपए जो है दिए जा रहे हैं.
Both Baj and Manish were talking about the young voter and how whether this 10,000 rupees will be a game changer for them. But I think young voters, whether women or men, they are looking beyond just this handout. They are clearly frustrated with the condition of the colleges, the schools here, the abysmal state of education. Migration and unemployment are the biggest issues for them. And they are very clear about one thing, that no government should stay in power for more than 5 to 10 years. They want change. And here I think they are attracted, at least the ones who are on social media, and everybody is on some kind of social media platform. They are very, very impressed with how Prashant Kishore has been able to use the social media platforms.
किसी को भी ज़्यादा टाइम देते हैं ना तो अपना साम्राज्य एक तरह से साम्राज्य स्थापित कर लेता है. ऐसे में है जो ना अपना वो काम करते रहता है. 10 साल से ज़्यादा किसी को नहीं रहना चाहिए सत्ता में.
परिवर्तन तो जरूरी है. परिवर्तन जरूरी है कि नहीं है? आएगा तो जैसे यही आदमी आएंगे.
कौन आएंगे?
ये प्रशांत किशोर जी.
लगता है कि इस बार दौर है प्रशांत किशोर का, तो मेरा वोट तो वहीं जाएगा.
इस बार हम लोग सोच रहे हैं स्वराज पार्टी को दें, जन स्वराज पार्टी को.
बदलाव तो होगा, कुछ ना कुछ तो होगा ही. ऐसा नहीं है नहीं होगा बदलाव. सबका सब तरह का विचार है, जिसका जो हो. अभी ऐसा कुछ नहीं है.
लालू जी के डर से लोग नीतीश भाजपा को वोट कर देते हैं और मोदी जी के डर से मुसलमान लालू जी को वोट कर देते हैं. उनको पहली बार एक सशक्त विकल्प के तौर पर एक ईमानदार प्रयास के द्वारा बनाया गया जनसुराज दिख रहा है. तो लोग उसको देख रहे हैं, उसका मूल्यांकन कर रहा है, उसको देख जांच परख रहा है. हम ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि जितने लोग जनसुराज के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं या जिसको परख रहे हैं वो सब जनसुराज का समर्थक है. लेकिन बिहार का एक बहुत बड़ा वर्ग जो बदलाव चाहता है वो जनसुराज को एक विकल्प के तौर पर देख रहा है और उसमें से बड़ी संख्या में लोग जनसुराज की ओर जुड़ भी रहे हैं.
He had discovered whether social media converts into votes. That is yet to be seen, but there's no doubt he uses it a lot and he gets a lot of. But the key point is, they think things are bad, the government is not working, but do they think the other main opposition, the RJD and the Congress, will do any better? That's the thing. Is one side better than the other or equally bad?
At this point, they are so frustrated, they're just talking about change. They're not sort of opening up about whether Tejashwi will be better or Prashant Kishore will be better, but they want change.
Right. Doc, I would like to add from where Shikha was talking about. We are on the bank of Ganges. The Patna University, the premier, the best university of Bihar is Patna University. It used to be. And now the irony is that the Patna Science College, which used to produce so many IAS, IPS, even the Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba, all the bureaucrats are from that college. But in the time of NDA or in the time of Nitish Kumar, Science College has a principal who has done her MA in home science. She doesn't have anything to do. This is the kind of chaos, this is the kind of anarchy Bihar is in right now, but there is no redressal. As you said, वो वोटर जब वोट देने का बात होता है तो वो ये डिसाइड करते हैं कि अगर हमने वोट कुछ किया तो आरजेडी तो वापस नहीं आ जाएगी.
So with women having a higher turnout than men and being such an important factor, and most of them, of course there's many that have doubts, most of them like Nitish and support the NDA, is the story over? That this election is, women are going to make sure that NDA and the JDU come back. It's very important to note that Nitish and the NDA are actually still vulnerable. The NDA can lose Bihar with even a small swing against them. it's a very swing sensitive state. The percentage swing needed for NDA to lose power is just 3%. With a 3% swing against the NDA, they will lose power because they lose so many seats. That's the sensitivity. But Bihar and many state governments are vulnerable to small swings in votes. India as a whole, seats are very sensitive to votes. The swing needed to remove a government from power, if you look at them state by state, there are a whole lot of state governments vulnerable to only a 3% swing against them, like Bihar, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, UP, Assam, and many others. Perhaps the least vulnerable and most sort of solid states where swings don't affect change in seats that much are Punjab. You need a minus 11% swing to get rid of the Punjab government. Gujarat, a minus 11%. Andhra, 9%. But on the other hand, there are some really vulnerable states. Haryana, 1%, and the government will fall from power. Rajasthan, 1%. Orissa, 1%. Very sensitive. Bihar, 3% seems very little, but there are some states which are even more sensitive than Bihar. So if we are talking about the sensitivity of a change in seats or a change in government to a swing in votes, just look at this list of the different states of India. Which states are the most volatile in swings versus seats? What are the percentage seats that are lost with a 3% swing against the government? Look at Rajasthan, 20% of the seats are lost. Tamil Nadu, 20%. And that way, Bihar is somewhere down the middle, but still a 3% swing leads to 14% of the seats changing hands, which is almost 34 seats. That makes the government fall. It's only some states which is less, but by and large, all across India, governments are very vulnerable to small swings. Dorab, why this sensitivity of seats to votes?
Prannoy, the thing to bear in mind there is that is why all these small parties, say in Bihar, parties like Hum, parties like VIP are very important. That's why the big parties are chasing these people, because with small swings, you can get large changes in small swings in votes, you can get large changes in seats. And also, what is becoming more and more important is the large number of independents. Bihar has about 20% of its votes coming from independents and other parties. So any swing of 2 or 3%, either from a small party or from independents, can cost you your government.
Right, Dorab. Baj, that is amazing how a 3% swing can lead to a 20% change in seats or a 14% in Bihar. That's a hugely sensitive swing to seats ratio.
It's very high, and even if you go slightly further, you go and say a margin of 10%, which is 5%, almost 50% to 60% of the seats become vulnerable at that stage. Even if you look at the last general election, where the NDA got 49% of the vote, the number of seats that have a margin of 10% or less is 49%. That's almost half the seats. But there is another factor that we have to include in this election, is the slight change in alliances that has taken place. Chirag Paswan, who fought against the NDA last time, is now here. And the VIP has joined the Mahagathbandhan. So there is some vote shift there which could affect the result. Paswan got 5.5–6% in the last election.
Last year, I myself took away almost around 6% of vote share, So there are other smaller alliances also, who takes away this year. But then eventually, this comes from my experience also, because last time I contested alone myself. This comes from my personal experience that right a day before or a night before the polling, the whole scenario changed. Because these floating voters, eventually, they go and vote for the candidate that will make a difference, and it gets bipolar only. So they'll not want to vote to somebody where their vote might get wasted.
भाजपा ने तो हमारी पार्टी को तोड़ दिया, भाजपा हमें क्या दे दिया, हमसे वादा किया, वादा पूरा नहीं किया। तो लोग को ये तो समाज में समझदारी तो है कि हमारे अच्छे कौन है, हमारे दुश्मन कौन है, हमारे मित्र कौन है। तो आज हमें लगता है कि समाज जो है, अति पिछड़ा समाज में भले आते, लेकिन अति पिछड़ा में सबसे स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड रखने वाला जाति हम है निषाद समाज।
तो हमारे लोगों को जनप्रतिनिधि पंचायत से मिलने से हम लोग काफ़ी स्ट्रांग है। हमें अभी पंचायत से हमें पता है कि पावर क्या चीज़ होता है। तो अभी हमारे कितनी भी लड़ाई हो, लेकिन हमारे लोग अभी विचार से बंधे हुए और वो मजबूती से महागठबंधन के लिए वोट करेंगे। और एकदम ही जहाँ केस 1-to-1 केस हो, 1-to-1 फाइट हो, तो वो तो भाई भाई में भी फाइटिंग होगा, तो वहाँ पे भी वो डिवीजन होगा। तो मुझे लगता है 99.9% लोग सहमत है और साथ में आने के लिए तैयार है।
So just moving on to, okay, that's at the government level. But is there any anti-incumbency at the constituency level? Do people kind of throw out candidates because they have not performed and they're angry with their candidates? What does the data show? So do individual candidates or parties face anti-incumbency? We're seeing overall in Bihar, governments currently face pro-incumbency 60%. So in each constituency, is it better to have new candidates or get the former winners to recontest? Now let's look at BJP plus JDU. New candidates, their win rate is 65%. They win 65% new candidates. But sitting candidates recontesting, less than that, 57%. So it's better to have a new candidate. But on the RJD and Congress, so there is a kind of anti-incumbency for a candidate in the NDA. But if you look at RJD and Congress, new candidates who are contesting for the first time in that constituency, or the party is contesting for the first time, they win only 11%. And sitting candidates win 43% of the time. So for the opposition, the RJD plus the Congress, there is pro-incumbency for sitting candidates. But on the NDA, there is anti-incumbency for sitting candidates. Now some people have called this not really a state election, candidates matter. And the anti-incumbency or pro-incumbency of candidates is key.
एक तो इस बार बिहार का चुनाव स्टेट वाइज नहीं है, ये बिहार का चुनाव तो है, लेकिन ये ना सीटों का चुनाव है। मतलब इस सीट पे जो समीकरण है, इसकी बगल वाली सीट पे वो समीकरण बदल जा रहा है और कांटे की टक्कर है, जैसा आपने कहा, एकदम नेट टू नेट फाइट है। तो हम लोग होपफुल हैं कि बिहार में सरकार बदलेगी, लेकिन अगर वोटिंग पैटर्न वही रहेगा तब तो ऑब्वियसली सरकार नहीं बदलेगी, क्योंकि लोगों के दिमाग में तो यही सवाल रहता है ना, या तो सरकार रखना है या सरकार बदलना है। तो सरकार जो रखने वाले लोग हैं, ठीक है ना, उनके मन में सरकार बदलने की अगर बात नहीं आएगी तो फिर सरकार कैसे बदलेगी?
Why is this difference, Manish, that in terms of NDA, they don't like the candidates, but Congress and RJD, they like sitting candidates?
उसका कारण प्रणय ये है कि आरजेडी चूंकि वो ऑपोजिशन की पार्टी है, तो उसके विधायकों से बहुत ज़्यादा उम्मीद नहीं रहती है। लेकिन जब आप सिटिंग अलायंस के आप विधायक होते हैं तो आपसे उम्मीदें ज़्यादा होती हैं। कई सारे प्रोजेक्ट आते हैं और वो जो प्रोजेक्ट होता है वो आप अपने जो स्ट्रॉन्ग आपके सपोर्टर्स हैं उनकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में ये करते हैं। और ये सही बात है कि इस बार ओवरऑल आप देखेंगे तो नीतीश कुमार के खिलाफ एंटी इनकम्बेंसी कम दिखती है, लेकिन आप जैसे कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी जाते हैं तो सिटिंग अलायंस के एमएलए के खिलाफ काफी गुस्सा दिखता है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी कम नहीं, प्रो इनकम्बेंसी. वी हैव टू फॉरगेट द वर्ड एंटी इनकम्बेंसी फ्रॉम नाउ ऑन. इट्स लाइक बीन अराउंड फॉर 30 years now. We only say there's pro incumbency in large parts or 50-50. But tell me, when you were talking to people, were they complaining about their local candidate not implementing stuff, and was there any difference? This is a tough question. That they liked, by and large, the opposition people were doing things while the ruling party candidates were not doing things.
So there were a lot of people grumbling about the current MLAs, saying that they haven't done any work. The charges of corruption came up in the conversation all the time. The ones who spoke in favor, the only thing they could say is, "उन्होंने सड़क बनवा दी है." So I think having a pakka road is still a hallmark of how much work you've been able to do.
But it's true that roads do make a difference. They have a multiplier effect. Things happen around them, shops come up, businesses come up. So it's not just the road, it's both, right?
Yeah, so I think wherever a road has been built and is being maintained, I think people were generally by and large happy. But one thing they all talked about was corruption, that there was a lot of corruption, and they all said that even though their MLAs may have done a lot of work, the corruption had become more and more widespread.
Right. Dorab, what do you feel about pro-incumbency at a state level, but some amount of anti-incumbency at a candidate level?
If a candidate in a poor state like Bihar has only so much that he can deliver, even if he's a good MLA. So if his caste is against him or he's caught up in a scandal, there can be anti-incumbency. But you're seeing that such large numbers of NDA people are being re-elected, which means that the candidates are doing much better on the NDA side. Or is it fair to say that they're doing well on the government side and not doing well on the opposition side? If you look at the RJD candidates, the re-election rate is much lower. The NDA, the re-election rate is much higher, perhaps because government candidates can deliver more than opposition candidates.
Okay, right. Shikha, do you agree with that?
Another reason for, if there was unhappiness with the sitting MLA, another reason for that, especially amongst the younger people, was that nobody has brought any factories to the area, created jobs. That was a huge thing, that why aren't there any factories here, why aren't there any institutions which are being set up to train people, you know, and there they would always compare with Gujarat, because a lot of them worked in Gujarat and the leaders who come here are from Gujarat, and they, you know, the comparison becomes inevitable.
Right, yeah.
प्रणय, इससे एक रिलेटेड है कि जो नीतीश कुमार के जो एनडीए के एमएलएज हैं उनके खिलाफ एंटी इनकम्बेंसी ज़्यादा दिखती है या नाराज़गी ज़्यादा दिखती है, उसका कारण क्या है कि ये जो पूरा उनका वोट बैंक है, उनका जो कोलिशन है, इट्स ए कोलिशन ऑफ एक्सट्रीम अपर कास्ट प्लस नॉन यादव बैकवर्ड दलित्स एंड ईबीसी। तो एक एमएलए अपने 5 साल के कार्यकाल में अगर वो अपने कोर यानी वो अपर कास्ट से आता है, अपर कास्ट को ज़्यादा वेटेज देता है, तो ऑब्वियसली जो उसका रिएक्शन जो है वो ईबीसी दलित इसमें ज़्यादा होता है।
And maybe also expectations are higher for people who are in the ruling party. Why didn't they do more? You're in the ruling party, but in the opposition they are
आपका
slightly...
सोशल बेस आपका थोड़ा वाइडर है, थोड़ा एक्सट्रीम है।
Baj, there's one interesting big change this time, like the 10,000 rupees for women that's resonated everywhere, is the fact that this is just a 2-phase election. Hasn't happened. We've had 6 phases, 5 phases, even 3 phases, but this is the first time in years that we've had a 2-phase election. If you just look at the assembly elections, in 2020 there were 3 phases, 2015 5 phases, 2010 6 phases, in 2005 4 phases. That's a big change from 4, 5, 6 down to 2 phases. And why has that happened? But who benefits from this reduction in the number of phases? Evidence from recent elections suggests that multi-phase elections tend to hurt the NDA. In the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Bihar voted across 7 phases. Each phase saw increasing swings against the NDA. The longer the campaign, the worse the NDA's performance. A signal that the NDA does badly in long multi-phase elections. In UP, just look at what happened. With every phase, the BJP vote went lower and lower and lower. In fact, it is said that Yogi Adityanath said, I said don't do it in 7 phases. But it's true that in every phase, as it became longer and longer, the BJP did worse. And same thing in Maharashtra. And look at what happened in Maharashtra. The votes just kept falling with every additional phase. And they had 5 phases in Maharashtra. Have they learned from that, do you feel? That the longer it is, the ruling NDA tends to do worse and worse in a long multi-phase election. That's why only 2 phases this time. Sorry, one last thing. 2 phases with Diwali and Chhat in the middle. So the first phase is like about less than a week of campaigning.
Yeah, I think for smaller alliances or weaker parties which have less money and resources, a stretched out election gave them the time to be able to go, you know, bit by bit and manage to keep a campaign sustained and reach out to people. While the advantage that the NDA has is being able to go big bang from 6 months before an election to election day. So why spread it? You can concentrate your funds and your people. You have more helicopters, more people to come and campaign for you.
Right.
So I think
so
it
why
makes
spread it out? Dorab, I mean, it is amazing how the BJP did worse and worse and worse with every multi-phase election. Why do you think that happened? One, Baj has given a very logical reason. Any other thoughts on that?
No, not really. It's just so difficult to explain. It's not that there's a caste equation that suddenly changed against them in both the states. There is no real reason. I can't think of any reason other than what Baj just said. I just can't think of any other reason.
Manish, before we end this, one of the places we went to, reservation was an important thing. And EBC had gone into scheduled castes and got a lot of positive reservation jobs, etc. But then they are now back into being an EBC and they're just furious. They will not vote. So EBC vote has now changed, being worried about losing reservation and losing jobs.
प्रणय, ये सही है कि लोग ये सोचते हैं बिहार के बाहर कि ईबीसी का वोट यूनिफॉर्म होता है, लेकिन वैसा है नहीं. ईबीसी में भी काफी फ्रेगमेंटेशन है.
The one we went to was just a 3% and they were really upset.
हाँ, और ये मैं आपको बता दूं कि इस चुनाव में नया क्या है. चिराग पासवान नीतीश कुमार के पास वापस हैं, एनडीए के अंदर हैं, लेकिन एनडीए के नेता इस बात को लेकर वरीड हैं कि जो ईबीसी की जो पूरी कम्युनिटी है उसमें से दो डोमिनेंट कास्ट, एक मुकेश सहनी का निषाद और एक आईपी गुप्ता की पार्टी है जो ताती तत्वा ईबीसी कास्ट था. अब शेड्यूल कास्ट में उसको नीतीश कुमार के समय डाला गया, लेकिन एक सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला आया और वापस उसको ईबीसी में कर दिया गया है, जिसके कारण ईबीसी जो ताती तत्वा कम्युनिटी है उसमें काफ़ी नाराजगी है. और
सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिड इट. व्हाई आर दे एंग्री विद नीतीश?
उनको लगता है
कि
नहीं, उनको लगता है कि बिहार सरकार ने उनका केस ठीक से प्लीड नहीं किया और इसका खामियाजा एनडीए को कम से कम 15 से 20 सीटों पर उठाना पड़ रहा है.
अब जब आरक्षण दिए तो फिर आपस काहे ले लिए? हम लोग कौन बड़े आदमी हैं, कौन जथा जमीन वाले हैं? हम लोग छोटा वर्ग के लोग हैं. बोलिए, आप ही लोग बोलिए कि जो सामान दिए हुए आपस लेना क्या ये जरूरी है?
बीजेपी को हम लोग नफरत करते हैं. हमारे बाल बच्चा है, पढ़े लिखे हैं, आरक्षण दे के उछीना है, यह उचित नहीं होता है.
बिहार सरकार के द्वारा वो भी अच्छी तरह से सुप्रीम कोर्ट में उसका व्याख्या नहीं किया गया, जिसकी वजह से ये आरक्षण छीना गया.
मजदूर आदमी है, हम लोग मजदूर के लिए मर रहा है, लड़ रहा है आरक्षण दिलाने के लिए. या आरक्षण दे या न दे, लेकिन बस वोट देंगे उसी को.
पहले आरक्षण दे दिया था और फिर छीन लिया, हरिजन बना दिया फिर छीन लिया. मान चलिए मेरा बाल बच्चा कम अंक लेके पहले पास हो जाता था, अब उसको 100% लाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि गरीब समाज का लोग है. गरीबे देखते हैं, सब गरीबी है. इसीलिए सबका मन हुआ कि जात भाई है, जो भी टिकट देगा जात भाई को आरक्षण के मुद्दा से हम लोग लड़ेंगे.
बीजेपी और जेडीयू मिल करके ऐसी में दे करके छीन लिया हमसे अधिकार.
हम लोग का आरक्षण जो है सो ले लिया है, जो आरक्षण दिया था, और हम ही लोग की जाति से जो है सरकार बनता है, अभी हम ही लोग को छांट दिया है.
तो पूरे निषाद समाज ने हाथ में गंगा जल लेके पूरे बिहार में 50 लाख लोगों ने संकल्प लिया था, आरक्षण नहीं तो गठबंधन नहीं, गठबंधन नहीं तो वोट नहीं. ये संकल्प के साथ हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं. और ऐसे जगह पे ये भी एक संकल्प है कि अपनी सरकार बनाएंगे, सरकार बनाओ अधिकार पाओ के नारा के साथ हम है. और ये भी है कि हम भाजपा को बिहार से खत्म करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि उन्होंने हमें खत्म कर दिया.
नीतीश कुमार had given them SC status, and that SC status was taken away by the Supreme Court in July 2024 after Modi became Prime Minister for the third time. But then all the people who had got reservation on that SC, I think with retrospective effect, so they are being denied that. So that is becoming a huge issue for them.
I mean, it was just amazing how they, probably 90% of them said we will not vote for Nitish because we've lost reservations as a scheduled caste. Dorab, as we end, can you just go through some of the important big candidates, what you call the heavyweights? Can you describe the heavyweights in this election?
The issue this time is that most of the heavyweights are not contesting. So let me start first with the chiefs who are not contesting. First is Nitish Kumar himself, the Chief Minister. Then Mukesh Sahni, VIP. He wants to be the Deputy Chief Minister if India comes in power. Jitendra Manji of Hum, who's a Member of Parliament, is not contesting. Prashant Kishore of Jan Suraj, who's not contesting. And Chirag Paswar also not contesting. So the real big shots aren't contesting. Now let's do it party-wise so things are clear. First, there's Samrat Chaudhary of the BJP. He's the Deputy Chief Minister, very experienced person, and he's fighting from Tarapur. Then there are two Deputy Chief Ministers, second one also from BJP. He is Vijay Kumar Sinha, who's fighting in Lakhisar. And the third BJP leader is a well-known EBC leader and an 8 times MLA from Gaya, Prem Kumar. He's fighting from Gaya town. Now let's look at the JDU. As we know, Nitish Kumar is not contesting. But Bihar party president of the JDU, Umesh Singh Kushwaha, is contesting. And there is a senior cabinet minister from the JDU, an upper caste leader, Vijay Kumar Chaudhary, who is contesting Saira Ranjan. Now let's move to Lalu's party. Lalu is not contesting, as we know, he's out of politics. But his son and heir, who is the CM candidate for India Alliance and the current leader of the opposition, Tejasvi Yadav, is contesting for Raghopur, which is a traditional Lalu constituency. Then from RJD is Awadh Bihari Chaudhary. He is a former speaker and a 6-time MLA from Siwan. Siwan is the constituent from which Shahabuddin used to fight. Then let's look at the Congress. Shakil Ahmed Khan is the National Secretary of the Congress and is contesting from Kadwa. Then there is the Bihar Party President of the Congress, an SC leader, Rajesh Kumar, who is fighting from Kutumba. Then there is CPI MLL, which has done rather well in the last few elections. Mehboob Alam is the member of Bihar State Committee CPI MLL. And finally, the renegade, Tej Pratap Yadav, Lalu Yadav's son, who has been expelled from the party by his father and is fighting from Moa on his own party called JAD. That does the whole lot. Back to you.
One of the factors that people talked about, there's uncertainty, the delay in announcing Nitish Kumar as the Chief Minister. They may announce it later, but people are upset. Why haven't they announced it so far? Is that an important factor in this election?
I think a lot of voters, especially like we've been talking about the women voters, they are voting for Nitish Kumar, and not so much for the NDA, but Nitish Kumar. So if he is not announced, his name is not announced as the chief ministerial candidate, I think in the long run it could hurt.
Even if they announce it, the delay, why didn't they announce it earlier? It was a bit humiliating. It affected, it's an important issue.
प्रणय, ये इसका काफ़ी इम्पैक्ट था और यही एक बड़ा कारण है कि भले ही अमित शाह ने कहा हो कि विधायक चुनेंगे, लेकिन एनडीए के 2 की पार्टनर्स चिराग पासवान, उपेंद्र कुशवाहा ने ये साफ कर दिया कि नीतीश ही मुख्यमंत्री रहेंगे। ये पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है और उसका कारण ये था कि बहुत जगह पे उनको फीडबैक आने लगा कि लोग कह रहे हैं कि तीर ही लालटेन है, लालटेन ही तीर है, यानी कि जहां पर जनता दल यूनाइटेड के कैंडिडेट नहीं है, आप आरजेडी को वोट दे दीजिए, क्योंकि आरजेडी और जेडीयू बाय एंड लार्ज सेम है। और दूसरा एक कारण और भी है कि जो बीजेपी का कोर वोटर है वो बार बार अपने नैरेटिव में, अपने स्टेटमेंट में ये कहता है कि उनको योगी जैसा मुख्यमंत्री चाहिए। तो लोगों में जेडीयू का जो कोर वोटर है उसको शक होता है कहीं ये सत्ता जो है वो ओबीसी या ईबीसी के हाथ से अपर कास्ट को तो नहीं चला जाए।
कौन होंगे मुख्यमंत्री वंस एंड फॉर ऑल मैं इसको फिर एक बार मैं क्लियर कर देता हूँ। मौजूदा मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में चुनाव लड़ा जा रहा है। लेट मी कंप्लीट ऑन दिस। एक बार फिर से चुनाव परिणामों के बाद मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार जी ही मुख्यमंत्री बनेंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है। मैं मानता हूँ क्योंकि मैं गठबंधन का एक अहम सहयोगी हूँ।
अभी तक वहाँ नीतीश जी का अनाउंस नहीं हुआ है, वो कैंपेन में गए हैं बिना दूल्हे के। इसका मतलब ये है कि वो नीतीश कुमार जी को नहीं चाह रहे।
सबसे बड़ा बात है कि यहाँ वैकेंसी नहीं है, यहाँ नीतीश कुमार जी मुख्यमंत्री हैं, उनके नेतृत्व में चुनाव है और आगे भी वही है।
The other side did not have clarity. They do not have clarity on their face. Amit Shah says that Nitish will be the chief minister till the election. After that we will see. We will see a very loaded words and everybody understands what that means. Essentially it means that Nitish will not be chief minister after the elections.
But apart from caste, there are 4 or 5 major unusual issues. The 10,000 the fact that certain castes have lost their reservation. Nitish's name has not yet been announced, and even if it's announced, it's a bit late. So many things that affect, and of course, the biggest thing of all is the women's vote. What's the key takeaway when you talk to people that you got?
I think we'll come down to, is women's vote going to be bigger than a caste vote? That will be the deciding factor. Will caste, because it's not that all women are voting for Nitish or they're voting outside their caste. There is a group, it may be a large enough group to swing the vote, but caste, because like I said earlier, some have moved this side, some have moved that side, caste will still be a factor.
Yes.
And we shouldn't discount
we
it
should
if
be
you look
very
at the
clear.
way that parties have, selected their candidates.
Yeah, but we should make very clear that each caste doesn't go 100% one way. It's like 80-20, 70-30. So that can shift from 80-20 to 60-40, etc. So caste can sway. Dorab, last final thoughts from you.
Well, I think on the face of it, it looks as if you look at the Lok Sabha election, that the BJP has a lead, but part of it is a Modi vote. Now, whether in fact not announcing Nitish as the chief ministerial candidate of the alliance will cost them more votes, and the 3% swing is all that is required. So I think it's going to be a very interesting match. The interesting matches often land up in landslides.
So basically anything could happen. I see. That's a very interesting point. That's it for this countdown. We'll be doing another one. We'll be doing another round of Bihar and going to other constituencies and many in phase 2. And we'll come back to you with an updated report. But I must say, being here at Chhat Puja time has been a blessing for all of us. We went and watched it happen. And the most moving aspect of Chhat Puja is that it's the worship of nature, of the rising sun, the setting sun in particular, and of trees and other factors of nature. That is the beauty of Chhat and the people of Bihar. Thank you for watching. See you on our next countdown. Bye for now.